Imagine mastering the art of controlling your mind, a pursuit that dates back to Stoic philosophy, a school of thought that flourished in ancient Greece and Rome. This ancient philosophy holds that by conquering our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, we can discover a deep wellspring of serenity and virtue, independent of life's external circumstances. In this video, we will explore the Stoic principles that help us achieve this internal mastery, allowing us to lead a more balanced and meaningful life. By understanding and applying these principles, it is possible to attain a state of serenity that enables us to face life's ups and downs with grace and wisdom. If this is your first time on my channel, I ask you to help me by subscribing and liking the video so that I can continue creating more content like this in the future.
First Stoic principle, the pursuit of inner tranquility. Independence from circumstances. Stoics believe that true happiness and tranquility should not depend on external circumstances. Instead, they seek to find inner peace regardless of the fluctuations of the outside world. This means that no matter what happens around us, we can maintain composure and virtue. Acceptance of impermanence. The pursuit of tranquility requires the acceptance of impermanence. Stoics understand that everything in life is transient, and that clinging to ephemeral things or situations will inevitably lead to suffering. By embracing impermanence, they find a peace that is not shaken by changes. Equanimity in the face of adversity. One of the most notable aspects of the pursuit of tranquility is the ability to face adversity with equanimity. Stoics see difficulties as opportunities to grow, develop resilience, and strengthen the mind. Detachment from disturbing emotions. Inner tranquility is achieved through detachment from disturbing emotions such as anger, fear, and despair. Stoics teach us to recognize these emotions, but not allow them to govern our actions or decisions.
Living in accordance with virtue. For Stoics, the true source of tranquility lies in living in accordance with virtue. When we act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, our conscience is clear, and we are not tormented by feelings of guilt, remorse, or regret. Contentment with sufficiency. Stoics promote the idea that the incessant pursuit of more wealth, power, or pleasure often leads to dissatisfaction. Instead, they emphasize the importance of finding contentment with sufficiency, avoiding excessive desires and material attachments. Serenity as an ideal to pursue. Inner tranquility is seen as an ideal to be pursued throughout life. It is not achieved all at once, but is gradually cultivated through self-control, self-discipline, and the constant practice of Stoic principles. Inner freedom. The pursuit of tranquility is also a pursuit of inner freedom. When we are not slaves to our own emotions, desires, and external circumstances, we achieve a freedom that allows us to live according to our values and principles. In summary, the pursuit of inner tranquility is one of the central pillars of Stoic philosophy. It involves independence from external circumstances, acceptance of impermanence, detachment from disturbing emotions, and the constant pursuit of virtue. This pursuit leads to a more serene, ethical, and meaningful life, where inner peace is found not in external things, but within ourselves. Let's delve into the second Stoic principle, which deals with the acceptance of what we cannot control. This is one of the fundamental pillars for mastering the mind and living a calmer, wiser life.
Second Stoic principle, acceptance of what we cannot control. Stoics emphasize the idea that many events and circumstances in life are beyond our direct control. This includes the actions of other people, natural events, the past, and even the future. The key to Stoic serenity is to fully embrace this reality and direct our efforts toward what we can control, primarily our own mind and actions. Understanding the sphere of control. Stoics encourage us to create a clear distinction between the sphere of control, what is within our jurisdiction, and the external sphere, what is outside our control. This helps us avoid futile frustrations by recognizing that we cannot change certain things, such as the behavior of others or past events. Detachment from unrealistic expectations. We often suffer due to unrealistic expectations. Stoics advise us to let go of excessive expectations and accept reality as it is. This does not mean we should be indifferent, but that we should keep our expectations aligned with what is possible and reasonable. Serene confrontation of adversity. By accepting that adversity is part of life, Stoics develop resilience and courage to face challenges with serenity. Instead of rebelling against difficulties, we can see them as opportunities to grow and learn.
Focus on reaction, not action. Although we cannot control external events, we can control how we react to them. Stoics emphasize that our ability to choose our responses is one of life's greatest gifts. Therefore, we should concentrate our efforts on cultivating virtuous responses, such as patience, compassion, and wisdom. Detachment from the past and future. Constantly worrying about the past and future can prevent us from living fully in the present. Stoics remind us that the past cannot be changed and the future is uncertain. Therefore, it is wise to focus our attention on the here and now, where we can truly make a difference. The acceptance of what we cannot control, combined with the constant pursuit of virtue and self-transformation, is one of the paths to inner peace and Stoic wisdom. It empowers us to face life's uncertainties and challenges in a more balanced and resilient way, allowing us to live according to Stoic principles of a virtuous and meaningful life.
Third Stoic principle: practice of virtue as the supreme good. Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues that serve as pillars for living virtuously. These virtues are wisdom, Sophia; courage, Andrea; justice, dikaiosune; and temperance, Sophrosyne. Each plays an important role. Wisdom, Sophia. Wisdom is the pursuit of knowledge and understanding of the nature of the world and human nature. This involves seeking truth, self-awareness, and the ability to discern what is truly valuable in life. Courage, Andrea. Courage is the virtue that allows us to face fear and act rightly, even in the midst of danger or adversity. Stoics believed courage is intrinsically linked to wisdom, as it requires discernment to face appropriate dangers. Justice, dikaiosune. Justice involves acting with impartiality, fairness, and respect for the rights of others. Stoics believed justice was an essential part of the virtuous life and social harmony. Temperance, Sophrosyne. Temperance is the control of desires and appetites, avoiding excess and unbridled pleasures. It also includes mastery over emotions and the ability to maintain serenity in all circumstances.
Continuous practice. The pursuit of virtue is a continuous and challenging journey. Stoics believed that no one is completely virtuous, but everyone can work to improve these virtues throughout life. Virtue as a source of happiness. Stoics taught that true happiness resides in the practice of virtue. By living according to these principles, we can find a deep sense of fulfillment and meaning, regardless of external circumstances. Virtue as a source of self-sufficiency. The practice of virtue also leads to emotional and spiritual self-sufficiency. This means we do not depend on external things like wealth, status, or approval to find joy and satisfaction. Self-control and self-transformation. The pursuit of virtue requires self-control and self-transformation. It involves recognizing our imperfections, learning from our mistakes, and constantly working to be better human beings. The path to a meaningful life. The practice of virtue is seen as the path to a meaningful and ethical life. It empowers us to make fair decisions, live in harmony with others, and contribute to the common good. In summary, the practice of virtue as the supreme good is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. It guides us in the pursuit of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance as means to lead a virtuous and meaningful life. Stoic virtue is not just an abstract theory, but a set of principles applicable in daily life to live with ethics and serenity, regardless of external circumstances.
Fourth Stoic principle: control of emotions. Mastering emotions is fundamental to achieving serenity and virtue according to Stoic teachings.
Stoics recognize that emotions can be powerful and often lead us to act impulsively or irrationally. Therefore, they emphasize the importance of controlling emotions as follows. Emotional self-awareness. The first step is to cultivate emotional self-awareness, which involves the ability to identify and understand our emotions as they arise. This includes recognizing when we are experiencing emotions like anger, fear, sadness, or euphoria. Emotional distance. After recognizing an emotion, Stoics recommend creating some emotional distance. Instead of being completely carried away by an emotion, they suggest stepping back and examining the situation more objectively.
Reasoning using reason. Stoics believe reason should prevail over emotion. This means using the power of rational thought to evaluate the validity and usefulness of a specific emotion in a given situation. For example, if we are feeling anger, we should question whether the anger is justified and whether acting on it is appropriate. Choice of virtuous responses. Once we have evaluated an emotion, we must choose a response that aligns with virtuous principles. For example, instead of reacting impulsively with anger, we may choose to respond with calmness and understanding. This requires self-control and constant practice. Transformation of negative emotions. Stoics also teach the transformation of negative emotions into constructive actions. For example, instead of allowing fear to paralyze us, we can use it as motivation to take sensible precautions. Emotional equanimity. The ultimate goal is to achieve emotional equanimity, a state in which emotions do not dominate us. This does not mean eliminating emotions, but controlling them in a way that does not negatively influence our judgment and actions. Acceptance of natural emotions. It is worth noting that Stoics do not advocate for the complete suppression of emotions, but for their wise and virtuous management. They recognize that natural emotions, such as grief over a loss or joy at success, are part of the human condition. Mastering emotions is a continuous and challenging process, but it is essential for living a more serene and ethical life. Stoics believe that by controlling our emotions and choosing virtuous responses, we can live according to principles like wisdom, justice, and courage, regardless of external circumstances. This allows us to achieve a state of serenity and inner peace, highly valued in Stoic philosophy. Fifth Stoic principle, focusing on the present. The fifth Stoic principle, focusing on living in the present, is essential for mastering the mind and leading a more meaningful life. This principle encourages concentration on the here and now, avoiding rumination on the past or anxiety about the future. Remember to follow us on our TikTok account, Diario Estico, and our other social media like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Elimination of regret. Stoics teach that regretting the past is useless because we cannot change it. Instead of getting lost in remorse, we should learn from our mistakes and past experiences. This perspective frees us from the weight of the past and allows us to focus our efforts on the present. Reduction of anxiety about the future. Worrying excessively about the future is another source of suffering. Stoics believe that while it is wise to plan and prepare, we must recognize life's inherent uncertainty and not allow anxiety about the future to dominate our thoughts and actions. Appreciation of the present moment. The present is the only moment we truly have. Stoics encourage us to fully appreciate the present, finding joy in small things and recognizing the beauty of the world around us. This not only brings us satisfaction, but also helps cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Focus on current tasks. Concentrating on the present also translates to being fully engaged in the tasks we are performing. This means avoiding distractions and multitasking, allowing us to carry out our activities more effectively and with greater appreciation.
Here and now as a source of control. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that the only moment over which we have real control is the present. By directing our attention to the present, we can channel our efforts to make wise and ethical decisions in the here and now, without worrying excessively about what we cannot control in the future. Meditation and mindfulness practices. Practices like meditation and mindfulness are useful tools for developing a focus on the present. They help train our minds to be more present and aware, reducing mental agitation and promoting tranquility. Reduction of suffering. By living more in the present, we can experience less suffering caused by worries about the past or future. This not only improves our quality of life, but also allows us to make more informed and ethical decisions. In summary, the Stoic principle of focusing on the present teaches us to value the current moment, accept the impermanence of life, and find control and satisfaction in the now. This does not mean ignoring the past or neglecting future planning, but living fully and meaningfully in the present, the only real moment over which we have significant control. This contributes to a tranquil mind and a more meaningful life.
Sixth Stoic principle: practice of indifference towards pleasures and pains. This principle challenges our relationship with the external world and sensory experiences, encouraging us to find a state of equanimity regarding these experiences. Stoics argue that the unbridled pursuit of pleasures and the fear of pain are significant sources of human suffering. To achieve serenity and virtue, it is essential to adopt an attitude of healthy indifference towards these experiences. Prudence in pleasure. Stoics do not advocate for the total renunciation of pleasures, but rather moderation and prudence. They remind us that the relentless pursuit of pleasure often leads to harmful excesses, while the pursuit of moderation helps us avoid the suffering resulting from excess. Detachment from pain. Similarly, Stoics encourage us to develop the courage and resilience to face pains and adversities calmly and bravely. Instead of fearing them, we can see them as opportunities to grow and strengthen our mind. Principle of indifference. Stoic philosophy embraces the principle of indifference towards many external things, meaning that things like wealth, social status, or material success are indifferent to our intrinsic virtue and happiness. This doesn't mean we shouldn't enjoy the good things in life, but that we should not place our happiness exclusively in them, as they are outside our control.
Emotional detachment. Stoics seek to develop a healthy emotional detachment from external circumstances. This means we should not let ourselves be dominated by our emotions in response to material gains or losses. Instead, we should cultivate an inner tranquility that remains constant regardless of external changes. Focus on virtue. According to Stoics, the true source of contentment and happiness lies in the pursuit and practice of virtue. By prioritizing wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance in our lives, we find a more enduring and meaningful kind of pleasure than that offered by fleeting sensory pleasures. Self-control. Practicing indifference towards pleasures and pains requires a high level of self-control. This involves not being slaves to our desires and not being dominated by the fear of pain. By developing this self-discipline, we can make more rational and ethical decisions. In summary, the practice of indifference towards pleasures and pains is an essential part of Stoic philosophy that teaches us to find a healthy balance with sensory and external experiences. This allows us to avoid excesses that often lead to suffering and find a deeper source of contentment in the pursuit of virtue and self-transformation. It is a principle that helps us live a more balanced and serene life.
Seventh Stoic principle: self-knowledge.
Self-knowledge is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and many other philosophical and spiritual traditions. For Stoics, understanding oneself is the essential starting point for mastering the mind and, consequently, life. Constant self-examination. Stoics encourage us to engage in honest and continuous self-evaluation. This involves observing our own thoughts, emotions, and actions objectively and impartially. It is like looking into a mental mirror and recognizing our virtues, flaws, and tendencies. Identification of desires and aversions. A fundamental part of this self-evaluation is recognizing our desires and aversions. We are often dominated by irrational desires or unfounded aversions that cause suffering. By identifying them, we can begin to question their validity and work to control them. Reflection on our values. Stoics urge us to reflect on our values and principles. What is truly important to us? What are we seeking in life? This type of reflection helps align our actions with our values, fostering a more meaningful life. Self-acceptance and constructive self-criticism. Self-knowledge also involves the ability to accept ourselves as we are, with all our imperfections. However, this does not mean complacency, but rather recognizing areas where we can improve and grow.
Avoiding self-deception.
Stoics warn us against self-deception, the tendency to justify our actions and rationalize harmful behaviors. Through self-knowledge, we can detect when we fall into this type of mental trap. Continuous improvement. Self-knowledge is not an end in itself, but a means to achieve self-transformation and continuous improvement. By understanding oneself better, one can work on building a more stoic mindset, cultivating virtues like courage, temperance, wisdom, and justice. In summary, self-knowledge is the solid foundation upon which Stoic philosophy is built. It helps us discern what is in our control and what is not, recognize our desires and aversions, and shape our minds according to virtuous principles. It is the journey of self-discovery that empowers us not to be prisoners of our own emotions and thoughts, making us more resilient and wise in the face of life's challenges.
As we explore the principles of Stoic philosophy, we find a map for mastering our minds and, consequently, our lives. From self-knowledge to the pursuit of virtue as the supreme good, these teachings empower us to navigate the turbulent waters of existence with a calm, wise, and ethical soul. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true wealth resides in inner peace, self-transformation, and the constant pursuit of virtue. In a world that often presents us with challenges and uncertainties, Stoic philosophy offers a guiding light toward a more balanced and meaningful life. It is a philosophy that reminds us that despite external circumstances, we have the power to shape our minds and our choices. If you liked our video, please like it, subscribe, and comment so that YouTube knows this type of content helps people like you, and we can continue creating more similar content in the future.